Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing a review on the Clark sisters. I believe last week or the week before last, they dropped their biopic on Lifetime and it's called The Clark Sisters, the First Ladies of Gospel Music. I think I got that correct. So today I'm going to be giving my full thoughts on the movie, what I thought about it, what I liked about it, and some takeaway messages that I want to share with you. So without further ado, let's get into this video. Stop right here that if you have not seen the film, please put a pause on this video, exit, go watch the movie on Lifetime, and then come right back because there will be spoiler alerts and I don't want to ruin it for you. But if you don't care, you can continue watching. All these thoughts and everything I'm going to be sharing with you are just things based off of what I see in the film. This does not mean that every single thing in the movie is actually what happened. It's just what we've shown in the movie, so please do not take it as Bible and say, this is what you said. This is what I'm saying based off of what I've seen in the film. So first, I want to say that the Clark sisters, if you don't know who they are a prominent gospel group in the gospel community. They are a group of women who are one of the pioneers in gospel music. They helped to pave the way for artists like Kirk Franklin, Kirk Carr, so many greats in the industry today that we listen to. So without them, some certain styles of music would not have been created without the Clark sisters singing. They definitely broke barriers in terms of musical styles in gospel music, and definitely did unconventional things at the time that would have been considered taboo or incorrect or whatever you want to call it. But without them, certain artists in the gospel community and the Christian community would not be there today. So when their biopic came out, a lot of people went to go see it, and likewise myself, I was very interested in seeing it, and I found out some very cool and interesting facts that I didn't know about them. And so today I just want to dissect a couple of things and share my thoughts on the film as a whole. So out of a 10, I would give the film, I would say about 8.5, almost a 9. And the only reason why I don't give it a full 10 is because I just felt like the film was a little bit cut short. I felt like it could have been a little bit longer in terms of length because there were so much things that I could tell were left out for the sake of time. The film was about 2 hours, including commercials. So I can get they didn't want they didn't want it to be super long, but I just wish it was either a 2-part movie or maybe potentially I see some people say it could have been a series. I don't know if I would have watched it if it was a series, but I definitely would have watched it if it was 2 parts. If they had part 1 and then they had part 2. But overall, I felt like the film was great. And here's why. 1, all the actresses did a great job. Each actress, from the woman who played the mother, and I'm going to call her Ellis because I can't say her first name. I believe it's A-U-N, and I'm going to stop right there, but I'm going to call her Ellis. Ellis, who played Maddie Mae Moss Clark, did a bravo job. She embodied the look, the tone, the feel. I mean, everything about Maddie Mae Moss Clark, she embodied. Kiara Sheard played her mother, Karen, so that was very interesting to see her actually act for the first time. I didn't even know she could act, so it was really nice and refreshing to see that. And of course, she can sing too, so you didn't miss a beat there. And then all the other actresses did a great job playing the remaining sisters. I loved the fact that they actually could legit sing. I don't think you understand when you watch movies and it's supposed to be talking about somebody who is a musician or the character is supposed to have a musical talent. For the person who's acting them not being able to sing is like a dagger to my heart. Because as somebody who's on a choir and loves to write music and loves to sing music, if the character was meant to have a beautiful voice and you sound like auto-tune, it is just so hurtful. So I'm glad that they actually had actresses who can actually sing and act. Second, I would say that the entire storyline was pretty much clear. So you got a very good overview of the life of the Clark sisters from they were children to where they are now. So it was definitely a great broad overview of, how they got to where they've gotten to, and some of the roadblocks that happened in their way in order for them to achieve the ultimate goal, which is being the world famous Clark sisters. Number 3, I would say that the film was very raw and real, where they did show things about their life that you would not have known had they had not allowed the filmmakers to actually put that in the movie. So it's going to show you things that you didn't know before. Things that you were like, wow, I did not know you did that. Or I didn't know that this happened to you. Or wow, I didn't know that you had this issue. So there were some things in there that were just very raw, very real, and very honest and truthful, which is why I feel like the film was such a great hit and why it resonated so much with the audience, because it was just very real. It's very raw, and you didn't feel like they were trying to pretend like they were one thing. They showed the truth of their journey. Maybe not every single facet of their life was displayed in the film, but they showed the overall truth of their journey and the stumbling blocks that they faced, which I think makes you as the viewer and as a fan and someone who listens to their music that much that much enlightened about their life and what they had to go through. Number 4, I did not know there were 5 sisters. My entire life, I always thought it was 4 of them. I don't know why. I never knew they had a 5th sister. So it was to my shock and to my surprise that in the film, I keep seeing 5 sisters on the cover. So in all the ads, I kept seeing 5, and I'm like, who is this 5th member? I'm sitting there like, I did not know they had a 5th member. It's a cousin or something. I don't know. I was just like, who is this 5th member? And then come to find out, it is another sister that I knew nothing of. So I was so shocked. I don't know about you, but I was very surprised that it's 5 of them and not 4 of them. And I also did some additional research, and I found out they have a brother, which I didn't know either. So I was just like, wow. So yeah, 5 sisters and you have a brother. Okay. So those are kind of my fun, cool little facts that I learned about the movie that was pretty interesting. So we're going to get into my takeaways and some of my main points I just want to bring out about the film. So one of my main takeaways from the film was that Maddie Mae Moss Clark was considered the first lady of gospel music. So Maddie Mae Moss is the mother of the Clark sisters, and the Clark sisters are Dorinda, Jackie, Twinkie, Karen, and Deborah. Is that name Deborah? Hold on, let me look it up. No, it's not Deborah, it's Denise. So sorry. The Clark sisters are Dorinda, Jackie, Twinkie, Karen, and Denise. Okay, got it. Like I said, I know it's not no Deborah. All right, so it's Denise. So Maddie Mae Moss, she's the mother of the Clark sisters, and I did not know much about this woman. So I actually asked one of my parents, I was like, well, do you know who this is? And my dad was like, yes, he does, because oftentimes when he listened to Dorinda Clark's album, she always talked about her mother, Maddie Mae Moss. And I was like, I had no idea who this woman was. And I feel like in gospel music, and someone brought this up in a comment under a video that I was watching about them, was that her name isn't often spoken of when we're talking about the pioneers of gospel music and the people that paved the way for others to make music. And after I watched the movie, I actually did additional research about her. But in the film, Maddie Mae Moss Clark is, a woman who is so serious about God's business and so serious about the work of the Lord. And she took it so seriously to the point where it embodied her. It engulfed her. It was everything that she lived for. And in the film, you see that in the very beginning of the movie, it starts off with Maddie Mae Moss waking up out of her sleep. And she wakes up all her girls, and they come downstairs, and she gets on the piano. God just gave me this tune. He just gave me these notes. Come on, come on, come on. And you see the girls coming downstairs, sleepy-eyed. And Maddie Mae Moss has to play on the piano. And she gives each of them their own part, and they sing it. And then the film jumps to when they're older, and they're in the church, and Twinkie's on the piano, and her sisters are singing in church, and everyone's clapping and giving God praise. So from the very beginning, and you can even look this up in her actual life, this woman was a producer. In the film, you see that how she and Twinkie travel around the country helping other churches, church choirs really excel and improve in their choir music. She was the minister of music, and I believe at one point she became the minister of international music for Church of God in Christ, which is the church that she was associated with or affiliated with. And she can play the piano, she sings, she can produce music, and they credit her with 3-part harmonies in choir. And definitely the types of harmonies that she could cultivate and create through the inspiration of the Lord. So this woman was super, super, super serious. I mean, like, by the book serious. Like, you couldn't wear no pants serious. Like, only skirts, only in the house serious, you know? And she had this passion for her daughters because God told her that, you know, God's vision, according to Maddie Mae Moss, was that the Clark sisters will stay together, that they will remain as a unit, and that they will not depart. That's God's plan for them. And I think that's why she was so hard on them. And I watched an interview where she was saying that she's going to push you until you can't go no more. And then when you can't go no more, she's going to push you some more. So she was really about pushing her daughters to the limit, because she felt like, you know, that's God's plan. That's God's vision. Like, God told me this vision. And she was committed to that vision. And for me right there, that just shows you when your mother believes God for you and she's truly saying, God, yes to your will and yes to your way, nothing will stop her. And she didn't let anything stop her. So in the movie, however, you see the tug and war between the children and their mother, and specifically with Denise. Not so much Jackie or Dorinda or Karen, but there was a part where, you know, Twinkie and her mother had, not, I would even say a disagreement, just maybe a miscommunication or a misunderstanding. And with Denise, again, another miscommunication and a misunderstanding, and, you know, the battle of the bulls. You know, Maddie Mae Moss Clark, she's a bull. Okay, you can't tell her nothing. She said what she said. She gonna do what she gonna do. So she's a bull. And if you have another child trying to be a bull, and you know, when your mother's a bull, you cannot be trying to act like you a bull too, because she will buck you out of here. So you have to just simmer down and follow the rules. But you see the tug and war specifically between her and Denise, that is shown in the film, of their back and forth. And ultimately, I'll get onto what happens later on that front, but ultimately, Denise leaves the group, and she goes and does her own ventures, which is why I didn't realize that they had a fifth sister, because by the time that I was born, I only saw 4 of them. So I didn't even realize that a 5th one exists. But you see that tug and war and that back and forth battle. And to me, while in one breath you can say, well, Maddie Mae Moss Clark was too harsh on her daughter. Why was she so strict? Why was she so this? Why was she so that? I say this. Without her doing what she did, would they be where they are today? Would they have been the great Clark sisters that we all revere and love their voice and love their sound? Would they be where they are today without her being so strict and without her laying down the rules? Yes, you can say, we're looking at it from the outside looking in, saying, well, my gosh, they can't date, and my gosh, they can't do this. But sometimes we don't understand what God's vision is, and she's the one that has God's vision. So I take it as, you know what? Sometimes some things in life can place, quote unquote, some scars on us. But I look at it true front. I say, without some of those things, would I be where I am today? Without some of those harsh things that happened to me, or those strict things, those strict rules that your parents lay on you, would I be in the position that I am right now without some of those things? Probably not. So even in the strictness and the limitations here and there, I am who I am, and I wouldn't change a thing, because at the end of the day, all those teachings, as strict as they might seem at the time, benefited me in the long run. And I'm proud. So I feel like, yes, you can say in one respect and in one breath that maybe she was a little too harsh, but I look at it as, and she said it in the film, that she did it the best way that she knew how. And sometimes our parents do things to us the best way that they know how. And they do it in love, but they do it the best way they know how. And we as children also have to understand it and say, you know what? I recognize that this is the only way you thought you could reach me. And I understand now, and I get it. And now I'm able to, now when my generation comes, take from both sides of the spectrum, take from the old and take from the new, and making it even better and even better and even better. So personally for me, I love Maddie Mae Moss Clark. I thought that she is a pioneer in the field. She is not spoken of often when it comes to gospel music. She did some great things in gospel music, helped so many choirs, started so many different trends, and I just love the fact that she was just so on fire for God, so hot for God, so passionate for God, so determined for God. Like her love for wanting her daughters to achieve the vision that God had placed in her heart was so strong that it pushed her, it propelled her. It was just, I can't even explain it. It was just, it's beautiful to watch. I thought it was so amazing, and I just feel like without that, they wouldn't have been where they are today, without her and without God. And the actress that played her, like I said again, did an amazing job. She made that character part feel so real. Like I felt like she was Ellis. I felt like she was Maddie Mae Moss Clark. She did an amazing job. Okay, I would say the other takeaway that I would take away from this film is being in a group is hard. And I know a lot of people have been talking about, oh my gosh, why don't they talk to the sister anymore, and this and that, and everyone's focusing on that part and the drama between the sisters. But I want to say, and from my perspective, I don't even view it like that. I view it like this. And just to give you some background before we get into this, before I go into my point, in the movie, obviously, again, the group starts off as 5. It starts off with Dorinda, Jackie, Karen, Denise, and Twinkie, okay? Jackie is from the first marriage that her mother had, and then the remaining sisters are from the second marriage. So the group starts off with 5, as we see, and throughout the film, like I stated, Denise was portrayed in the film as the rebel, the one who went out late at night. And, during that time period, based on the ministry that they were attending, you couldn't wear jewelry, you couldn't wear, makeup, no lipstick, none of those type of things. It had to be always like skirts for the females, no pants, none of that type of stuff. So Denise was the one, this is how she was portrayed in the film now. Denise was the one that was sneaking out, hanging out with guys and doing things that she shouldn't be doing behind her mother's back. And at one particular scene, she had came in like almost 2 a.m. in the morning, and Twinkie was in the kitchen writing music, and she had fallen asleep, and Denise went over to her and was like, "Girl, what you still doing up?" And then Twinkie was like, "Well, I'm just trying to write." And she's like, "Dude, what time is it? Like, you coming here at 2 a.m.?" And they start chit-chatting, and then Maddie Mae Moss comes down the stairs, and she's kind of like who just rolled up in here at 2 a.m. in the morning? Are you kidding me? And they get into a back and forth, and it didn't turn out good. Maddie Mae Moss ended up giving Denise a good slap in the face because she got out of line. And then the next morning, Denise had to apologize to her mother, and her mother said to her at the table that your Christianity, your life is not about what you do when you're singing for God, but it's about what you do when you're not singing for God. And I thought that was such a powerful line. Now, I'm not saying the exact words, but that was basically the general gist, that your Christianity is not, or, your life of holiness, your life of sanctification is not when you're up there on the microphone singing, or when you're up on the podium preaching, but it's about what you do in your own personal life. It's about how you live. That's where your anointing, that's where your glory comes from. And that's what her mother had told her. And eventually, as we see in the film, Denise ends up getting pregnant, has a child, and she continues to have more children. And eventually, up to a certain point, she ends up leaving the group. And her and her sisters end up having this little tit fit before she leaves the group. They were always, and how it's portrayed in the film was kind of like, it was like Karen, Dorinda, and Jackie against Denise, and then Twinkie kind of being in the middle of both, just trying to make peace. Just trying to be the peacemaker among the sisters. And that's kind of the basic general gist of how it's portrayed in the film. At the part where Denise did leave, when they're signing their record deal, Denise basically is like, "I'm out, I'm done, I want to do what I want to do, and I'm finished here. Like, I'm not doing this anymore, but I wish you all the best. I love all of you." And then Dorinda's character stands up and says, "Denise, you may be our sister, but you're so hard to love." And then Denise says, "We may fight, you may argue, but y'all ain't never been too hard to love." And then she leaves because she's like, "Cause y'all my sisters." And she's like, and then she walks away. So everyone has been talking about, oh my gosh, they don't talk to her and and all that type of stuff. And then to make matters even worse, when the Maddie Mae Moss does die, and in real life, Maddie Mae Moss's funeral was huge. A lot of people did attend. She was a pioneer in gospel music. I mean, she was a pivotal character, an important person in Christendom at the time. And when she had passed away, according to the film, the sisters did get into it, that Denise kind of made a spectacle, and the sisters got into a huge argument, and they was about to, fight out there at the mother's funeral. It was crazy. So that was also portrayed in the film. But I kind of my takeaway message from all that I was seeing was just that it's hard to be in a group. It really is hard to be in a group because sometimes your vision is not necessarily the same vision as your team members. And it doesn't matter if it's your sister, your best friend, your neighbor down the block, the American Idol group you just joined. It doesn't matter who it is. It's hard to be in a group. It's hard to get everyone to be on one accord because everyone has a different vision of where they want things to go. And everyone perceives things differently and everyone receives things differently. So therefore, without placing blame and saying it's their fault and so-and-so's fault and this and that fault, the main point that I took away was it's hard to be in a group and it's hard to get everyone on one accord and it's hard to sometimes get everyone to meet each other halfway to understand where I'm coming from and where you're coming from. It's unfortunate that they could not stay together. It's unfortunate that all five could not be singing currently right now, but God works in mysterious ways. In all, it's hard to be in a group, and we all know that because when we're doing schoolwork, school projects, work projects, and we have to be in a group of 4 people, there's always that one team member or one team members or team members, I should say, that don't do this, don't do that, or you have 2 bulls who want to do right and the other one wants to do left. Despite them not necessarily all being together in one group, that they still were able to make great music that when they were a group of 5, still able to make great music when they were a group of 5 that touched the lives of so many. We talked about Maddie Mae Moss Clark. We talked about the group, the sisters as an overall whole. Let's talk about Twinkie selling her life away for a car. I think this part was so funny, and I think Twinkie is an interesting character because I feel like Twinkie is such an intelligent woman. She is great at her craft. She wrote majority of their songs, so wow. And even when you read about her life story, I mean, she learned all her musical skills from her mother when she was going on all those different trips with her mom because she was her mom's pianist. She was her mom's player. So when her mother went to other ministries, her daughter would be there with her playing the music and learning from her mother, learning how to compose music, learning how to write music, learning all those different things. So it was kind of just like, wow, Twinkie that was pretty impressive. I always thought growing up that they had somebody writing their songs for them. I never knew that it was Twinkie, one of the sisters, that actually wrote the music. But Twinkie's character, I think, was one of the most interesting ones. And to me, the reason why is because I remember at the scene where, she sold her records for a car thinking that she's making a great investment, and then she's not. She ended up signing her life away and signing her sister's life away, which made them all even double upset. I feel like for Twinkie's character, that part to me was hilarious, and I think that is a mistake that a lot of artists even today still make. So my takeaway from that was just artists, please make sure musicians, comedians, people in the creative space in the field, be careful and make sure that you read your contracts, read the fine print. I went to a event a couple of months before we were on quarantine. One of the girls there, she was talking about how she was writing music, lots of music, and she was performing it, and she signed with a company, and she did not read the fine print. She thought that this company was a reputable company, huge in the music business, and she signed with them thinking that she's going to make millions of dollars and that she was going to be traveling the world and being the next, Beyonce. Come to find out that while she was performing, she wasn't getting paid not 1 cent. Her band was being paid, but she herself was not getting paid. And she learned from that mistake because she got caught into a contract bind, couldn't get out of her contract. And we've seen this over and over and over again with several artists not reading the fine prints, not understanding what they're signing away, and end up signing away much more than what was verbally spoken of. The part where Twinkie was getting married and her mother did not approve of the man that she was marrying. One of the main things that I, again, loved that Maddie Mae Moss Clark did for her daughters was that every time she kept talking to them, she says, everything that you do is for God. Everything you do is for God. It's not for me. It's not for you. It's not for the people. It's not for the audience. It's for God. Sing for the Lord. Write for the Lord. talk for the Lord, do all that for God. Because at the end of the day, man will fail you. Man will say they love you and then tomorrow they don't. Man will build you up and then bring you down. But God continuously loves us. God continuously uplifts us. God continuously takes us in his arms and reminds us that we are his children, that we are his own. So in the film, Maddie Mae Moss always constantly reminds me, you do it for God, you do it for God, you do it for God, you do it for God. But when you're a young person, and this can happen to anybody, and you're trying to quote unquote appease your parent, you're trying to make them proud of you, you're trying to impress them, you're trying to make them know, like, hey, do you see me? Like, I'm doing everything, like, I'm the perfect child, I don't give you any problems. You often can conflict the both of them and forget that you're doing it for God and not for your mom. You're doing it for God and not for your dad. And I think that's what happened to Twinkie, and even she in the film said it. Twinkie, as we know, she was the only one out of the sisters at this point who didn't get married or didn't have any children. Jackie was married at this point. She was the first one to get married. Dorinda and Kara, they were married. Denise, she was married, all that stuff. And Twinkie was the only one that did not have a man. And there was a conversation where Denise said to Twinkie, like, don't you want something for yourself? Like, don't you want to have something for yourself, a life for yourself, right? Don't you want to go out on your own and do things for yourself? And she was like, you're always doing everything that mama says, like, don't you want something for you? So at this point in time, everyone's kind of, living their best life, if you want to call it that. And Twinkie meets this guy in her building, in her apartment, and they start talking. Next thing you know, he wants to get married, and Twinkie wants to leave the group. Now, that was a blow. So this is where the Clark sisters end up being from 4 to 3. Now, understanding that if Twinkie leaves, that's huge, because Twinkie is the composer, she writes the music, she's the pianist, she's the reason why they have all these great songs. God inspires her and uses her to write these great these great songs. So therefore they're like, why do you have to leave? Why do you have to leave because you're getting married? But it's because Twinkie in the film said that she wanted to, do something on her own. She wanted to try something on her own. She didn't want to constantly keep doing things with everybody. She wanted to do something by herself. Now at the point where they're in the house and Twinkie is leaving, she's moving from where they live. I believe they're from Detroit, so she's moving from Detroit and she is going away with her man, and they have a headbutt, and Twinkie's like, why do you have a problem with me? Like, when Jackie got married, you had nothing to say. When Dorinda got married, you had nothing to say. When Karen got married, you had nothing to say. But now that I'm getting married, it's all an uproar. It's a problem. Like, you're upset at me. Like, what's your problem? And Maddie Mae Moss says to her, because you need me. You're a baby. The first guy that looks at you, the first guy who shows you attention, you're falling head over heels for him. Oh my gosh, you want him. And he don't even have a job. And that was a big thing. Brother didn't have no job, but he wanted to take her up. So Maddie Mae Moss calls like, you're a baby, you need me. And then Twinkie's like, yeah, but you need me too. And she's like, you need an organ player, you need my fingers. And Twinkie said back to her, Twinkie said to her, I did everything for you. And Maddie Mae Moss said, I didn't actually do anything for me. I told you to do everything for God. And Twinkie said, I don't know the difference. And I think right then and there, for me, I just take a step back and say to myself, you know what? Other young people who are Christians, sometimes we forget who we're doing things for. And sometimes we forget that when we do great things and we get applause, that we got to take this applause and give it right back to God. And that we cannot absorb it. And then we cannot look at it as, oh my gosh, my mom's applauding me, so I got to do better because she's so happy for me and I don't want to let her down. You don't want to let God down. That's where the glory comes back. And sometimes it can get conflicting, and sometimes it can be confusing when you forget and conflict the two. I felt bad for the character because I started realizing that, she genuinely is just, she loves the Lord and she loves God, but it's like, she almost felt like everything she was doing was for you. And she didn't necessarily believe that she was doing it for God because she felt like it was a mandate coming from you and not necessarily a mandate coming from God, because the person that was speaking was mom and not God directly. And then when the guy was, when she ended up moving with him and he had no job, still talking about, you the most famous Clark sister, where the money at, book more shows. I was like, boy, get a job. Talking about her, get a job. Get a job. Okay. Overall, I really liked this movie. I thought it was really good. I thought the actors did a great job. I thought the singing was amazing. It was interesting to learn that Karen Clark Sheard is actually shy in the early stages of her singing career. I had no idea. I was like, Karen Clark? Who sings out here? I did not realize that she had a shyness to her and was slightly afraid of sharing her beautiful voice with the world. One of the main messages I think in the film that was really portrayed is everything you do is for God. Everything is for God. Everything is for His glory. Everything is for His uplifting. Everything is to Him. And I think that reigns so true, and that was one of her foundational pillars that she gave her daughters, is that everything you do is for God. Everything you do is to give glory back to Him. And I strongly believe that without her and without God, the Clark sisters would not be who they are today. You know, they would not be where they are today without God and without their mother being the driving force to push them where they are. I think it was so nice and refreshing just to get a brief overview of their family, the good and the bad. I mean, we have to understand that they're humans too. They're just like everyone else. They did show the part in the movie where Karen had the surgery and she basically went into a coma and almost died, and God brought her through and God delivered her, and she's still here with us today, alive and well, and still singing and ministering and, pastoring a ministry with her husband till this day. And so throughout the film, yes, they showed the good parts, they showed the bad part, they showed the ugly parts, but that's all a part of the journey. That's all a part of the journey called life. But through it all, they remained true to what their mother said. Trust God, do everything for God, believe God, serve God with all your heart, and He will take you through. So, throughout the entire film, I think that was a huge theme and a huge pillar, that without God, without their mother, the Clark sisters that we see today would not exist. And I think it's super important that as the viewers who are watching, that we kind of allow it to resonate with us, that God is the end all and the be all. He is the first and He's the last. And that when you have Him on your team, when you surrender your will to Him and say, yes, God, come in, have your way in my life, that He will exceedingly and abundantly surpass all our thoughts, whatever we can think of or ask of. So overall, this movie was really great. I really liked it. I thought it showed different facets and different areas of their life, but also still remain true that God is everything, and that when you believe in Him and when you have a praying mother, in your life, there's no telling what God can do. So I hope you like this review. I hope that it was pretty interesting, definitely different from what other people have done, but I kind of wanted to just showcase the film in a different light and show some of the more stronger themes and things that I took away from the film, not just focusing on the negatives, but just focusing on the film as a whole. Hope you enjoy it. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.